Hi, I'm Bill, and welcome to the first episode of Meet the Astrophotographer. It is February 23rd, 2024. And before I introduce to you our guest today, our inaugural guest, I want to encourage you to participate in this series of video content. It's an opportunity to share a little bit more about the astrophotographers that make up our community. It's a great community. We have astrophotographers of all different levels, using all types of equipment, using all kinds of tools. And I would really like to do interviews with various astrophotographers and share their experiences and their techniques and their tool sets and everything with others so that the viewers can get a more rounded idea of what may be available to them to get started in astrophotography or as they advance potential upgrade options and things like that. And what makes this interview with David so exciting for me is for a long time now, a goal of mine has been to bring into my content a perspective of you don't have to sell the family farm to get into astrophotography. There are many ways to enter into this hobby. And I want to thank David because he's going to share a little bit about how he got started in this hobby and where he sees it potentially going for him as time goes on. So without further ado, please welcome David. Good morning, David.
It's good to be here.
Well, thank you for joining and thank you for being willing to share your experiences with me and others who may be viewing the content. So maybe we should start with your rig and a little bit about maybe the environment that you image in. You're in the California area, and many spots in California is a challenge. So maybe a little bit about how the skies are where you image as well. So take it away and go for it.
Well, this is my beginner rig. It costs about $2,000 to put it together. And I use a DSLR camera, the Canon T3i. I bought it used. And I did most of my first images unmodified. And then halfway through my first year, I got the camera Astro modified from a company in New Jersey. And it connects to a William Optics 61, Zenith Star 61. And mounted onto that scope is my Orion right angle viewfinder. And it's a 50 aperture. And that's all connected to the Star Adventurer Sky Watcher tracker. And it's just on a basic camera tripod. And I'm located in Concord, and I do all my astrophotography from my backyard where I can plug into power at the house. And the skies where I am are about a Bortle 4.5. Sometimes they're a 5, sometimes they're a 4, depending on the conditions. But it's quite good for astrophotography, and the convenience of being right in your own backyard really makes the hobby nice because you can set up throughout the day and have a barbecue and have access to the house and all the amenities that come with it. So I feel I'm very lucky to be where I am for a beginning astrophotographer.
And I think when we first chatted, we did a call together before this call, you mentioned star hopping. So for those that may not be familiar, can you share a little bit about that?
It's what I enjoy most about this setup and the hobby is I plan my night by finding a target that I'd like to image that I could just find with my Orion finder. By looking through the finder and lining it up with the right star pattern, then I know I'm on the right spot for the target, even though you can't see the target usually in the finder, but I know I'm there. And so I spend most of the setup and the night looking up at the sky as opposed to looking down at a computer screen. And that's always been the joyous way for me to do astronomy, is looking up at the sky and learning the sky through star hopping. Sorry, my dog companion is having a turbo moment. You can hear her in the background.
Oh, not a problem.
So star hopping is how I find the targets. And if the target is too hard for me to star hop to and know I'm there, I just don't do that target. And so after about a year of astrophotography using this method, I'm running out of targets that I can easily get to in that method. So I'm looking to use the new method, which would be a go-to mount and ASI Air. And I purchased both of those. But since that purchase, I haven't done any imaging because it adds too much complexity to the system, and I'm not looking up at the sky anymore. I'm looking down at a little screen. So what I like most about the hobby is it's kind of a conundrum. It's stopping me from proceeding to the next level of the hobby.
And I think this is the Star Adventure GTI mount kit that you purchased, I believe.
That's it. The GTI, it's a very lightweight, portable go-to mount, and it connects to the ASI Air, and that connects to my camera. So it should plug and play, but I have yet to successfully implement it. And I'm hoping by doing this interview and working with you, Bill, I'll get the motivation to take my hobby to the next level.
Okay, well, I'm definitely committed to helping, and at least taking it to the point where you can see, what I find interesting is your enjoyment is the star hopping and your ability to simply find targets through your own knowledge of the sky. That's got to be very rewarding. I'm a cheater. I knew nothing about the night sky. I immediately went to a computer and a go-to mount because I didn't know where anything was. And so it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, as you progress, you'll be able to make a decision at some point. And hopefully, it will still be rewarding. And maybe the reward will come into the ability to do many more images or something. But this will be interesting to see, and something that definitely, David, I'm going to be interested in tracking and working with you to see how we can get you a little further down the road. Let me stop sharing this. I did have a couple of questions. Let me get that done, and let me bring this rig back up. So I see you got your dew strap there. And so maybe how are you powering your camera um, and your dew strap and your mount and everything? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yep. I have a USB hub that's connected to an AC outlet on my backyard wall. And so everything's powered by the house current and not by battery. But this could all be powered with a battery remotely. But since I'm at home and
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about a battery wearing down in the middle of a long exposure session, it's really nice. The only downside would be if there was a power outage, which will usually only happen during storms. So there won't be a clear sky to compete.
Exactly. Fortunately, our grid up here in this area of California, and I'm only like, well, I'm in San Mateo, so maybe I'm 50 miles from you, if that. And I'm in a Border Lake, so that just shows you how the the sky profile can really change once you start to get away from the San Francisco and San Jose and Oakland area, get a little bit further out into what we might call East County, in the vernacular used up here, where you can get some good skies. I mean, 4.5 is not bad skies. As someone sitting in Border Lake, 4.5s would be a dream. But how do you power your DSLR? Does that have a dummy battery in it?
It does have a dummy battery that connects to a USB.
So that is what allowed you to keep going all night, because I know when I started with my Canon 6D, I didn't have a dummy battery, and so battery utilization was a challenge for me. But okay, that's great. And I see something kind of sticking out with some green kind of. Is that a counterweight or something? That's I don't know if you can see.
Yes, I've doubled up the weights because I'm above the maximum recommended weight for this rig.
Okay.
For the mount, and I needed to add a second weight for the counterweight arm. But I'm able to balance it with that, and I just weight the whole tripod down with a workout weight, like a kettlebell that I attach to the center of the tripod. It's below the picture, so you can't see it, but when you look at my images in a few minutes, you'll be able to see that the stars are pretty round, and I'll talk a little bit about how I make the exposures.
A couple of more questions here with this star tracker. Is it the Star Adventure, or
yes,
does it
Star Adventure?
Does it move in both RA and or just one axis?
Just one axis. And I love that. It's just so simple. You polar align it, and that takes about, I think I've got it, I time myself, and it's usually under a minute to polar align it.
Nice.
It has a polar scope, and once you've done that, you can just manually slew it to your target. I literally, hold the counterweight in one hand and keep my eye on the finder scope, the Orion finder scope, and move to the target by star hopping. Like for the Horsehead Nebula, you obviously go to Orion's belt and find that lower star. And I just frame the camera at the right spot in the sky. I take, a test image to see if it's framed well, and then I tighten everything down and hope. I try to be careful when I'm tightening it down to not lose my polar alignment too much, because I think that's critical to keeping the stars crisp.
And with your new mount now, you'll have both right ascension and declination, I think, right? So
That's right.
That'll be and the other thing that I see here is you're not using guiding, so you're just using the tracking capabilities of the mount there to keep up with the movement of the object in the night sky.
So that limits me to exposure time. I limit myself to 1 minute exposures because I'm not guiding. But I would like to guide with the new setup. And if I take off this black Orion finder scope and put on a guide scope there instead, I think things will work really well.
Yeah, I think so too. And just a quick note, I think 1 minute exposures is not a hindrance. You wind up with a lot more images, but I'm tending to go to shorter exposure lengths these days. Less likelihood of a satellite coming through or a plane coming through, and say you're at 5 minutes and it ruins the frame, you lose 5 minutes of data. So yeah, I'm a fan of shorter exposures these days, really. The other thing is, how do you process your images? That is something that's not clear to me in our discussion before.
Just 2 pieces of software, Deep Sky Stacker and GIMP.
Okay, great.
So they're both free, and there's lots of instructions online, and that's basically I follow Nebula Photos, really excellent tutorials from Nico. And well, regarding the exposure 1 minute, I really want to capture the target, the Witch Head Nebula, and I've tried it multiple times, and I'm unable to bring it out. And I think I'm limited because of the 1 minute exposures on that target. Have you ever tried getting the Witch Head?
Yeah, I have the Witch Head, and it's in. Thank you for the reminder. It's in the queue of images to be processed, and I think I was using. So, if memory serves me right, that was an RGB target, and I think I was using either 120 or 180 second exposures. But it's a faint. It's kind of a a faintish type of target in my mind, and kind of a bluish uh, type target that can be hard to bring out. But I think I've always heard, David, that your exposure just needs to be long enough to swamp the read noise of the camera. Now, you're using a DSLR, so there may be some higher noise level than a cooled Astrocam. So you're thinking that maybe for the Witch Head you need maybe a longer 2 or 3 minute type exposure to bring it out. Is that your? And it might be. I don't really know.
I've seen another person with the same setup capture the Witch Head. It was Nebula Photos, and he wasn't guiding, and he did 5 minute exposures with just a really accurate polar alignment, and he was able to do 5 minute exposures and get the Witch Head with this.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Maybe offline you can point me to that content, and because I'd like to see it. I think that's a very cool nebula to try to image. My challenge right now is M42, the Orion, because I keep blowing out the core, and I'm going to have to probably go down to 30-second exposures. But that's a whole nother story about me and not about you. So let's go on about you. All right. So what size image do you generally wind up producing out of GIMP? Is there how big are the file sizes?
Um, they're fairly big. They're like 40 megabytes. And then I do one last process to get it down to 1 megabyte. So, and then I even crop that so it fits nicely on a small cell phone screen, because I really only share my astrophotography images with close friends by texting them an image attachment, and I expect they'll be viewing it on their cell phone. So I constantly bring the size down to make that make me able to do that.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. So what does GIMP run on in DSS, Deep Sky Stacker? I think you said when you're processing, do you do that on your phone or?
No, oh no, I do it on my gaming PC.
Oh, okay, great.
And it's an older one, but it does have good graphics capabilities, and it's got it's definitely an older generation processor by these days standards, but I don't mind letting it run overnight for deep sky stacking. And the editing with GIMP is all real-time editing, so that's fun to do. There's nothing like getting that first image to come out when you first start seeing it. It's just an amazing feeling, and I can't wait to get back to that.
Okay. All right. So speaking of images, let's change things around. Let's go into the images. Do you have a particular one you might want to start with before while I'm digging things out here?
M51, the Whirlpool Galaxy would be a great one.
I think I got that here, right here. I think is that
That's the one. I love this image because, well, it shows off galactic cannibalism, an amazing amount of physics and science going into the art of an image. So I like how astrophotography combines science and art. And this one, that's what this one tells me when I see it, because you're seeing one galaxy interact with another galaxy. I like to consider the bigger one devouring the smaller one. But so this is a highly cropped image, and the stars are fairly round. It's 1 minute exposures. I believe this is about 5 or 6 hours worth of 1 minute exposures on a very dark sky night.
Yeah, no, I mean, looks clean. I don't see gradients and those type of things in there. And I just want to let everyone know what screen. So the challenge is, as astrophotographers, is we choose to share our content over YouTube. We got a couple layers here. I'm using Google Meet to begin with to capture the data, and then I'm going to process it within Adobe Premiere Pro probably, and then export it, and then you're going to view it on YouTube. And depending on what device you're using, the quality of the screen, what you actually see might be different. So keep that in mind as we're sharing our images. It's really a challenge to take them and process them and then put them out on YouTube and not lose some quality. So I love this image as well. I do. I love galaxies. Nebulas are great, but galaxies has really intrigued me as well. And I hope to do a lot more of them. All right. What's our next,
The Horsehead Nebula.
All right, we'll bring the Horsehead up. I think we have that. Where did I put that? Do I not have the Horsehead? Hang on one second. Let me bring that up. Yeah, there it is right there. So where did you go? Okay. Oh. Okay, hang on a second. Let me do this again. All right, my viewership, I apologize for the technical difficulties here, but the Horsehead, I have it here. There we go.
This is the first image I took with my modified DSLR. So it was the previous image that I didn't share with you is much less red.
Okay.
It almost was purple, but this one really brings out the hydrogen alpha because the modified camera can pick it up much better. And I did. This is about an 8 or 9 hour exposure.
Okay.
And again, using 1 minute exposures. I use 800 ISO, and that combination has always worked well for me. So I've tried other combinations, but they never came out as good as 800 and 1 minute. So that's kind of this rig loves that combination. And I cropped it such that the really bright star, I think it's Alnitak, isn't devouring taking away from the beauty of the Horsehead.
Yeah, that star's always been a challenge for me. I mean, but you do have the flame down here, right? The flame nebula.
Yeah, the flame's there, and I love the color of the flame.
Yeah.
So since I'm sharing it with people on their cell phones, I didn't mind getting rid of most of Alnitak since it would take over the image. I'm not really very good at editing yet on reducing image size and editing. So I might have to try your idea of actually reducing to 30 seconds on certain targets. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and then I just keep an eye on how much noise you're seeing, in the image. You know, I do think that this is a hobby where we get to explore. And, I know everyone or many people feel imaging time is very precious, especially you and I and others up in Northern California and parts of the West that have just not really had good weather over the, December, January, and February. So imaging time has been at a premium. But uh, I think it's good to explore and see what the best way is to dial in your kit or your gear for optimum results. So we are free to explore, but at the cost of using some precious imaging time. So, yeah, I like this image. I don't really have a good horse head image yet. It's on my list. You're motivating me to a little late for this year, but uh, let's see what else we're gonna do next. What do we want to go?
M42, perhaps?
Which one would that be?
The Orion Nebula.
Yeah. Oh, Orion Nebula. Where? Yeah, which one was that? Where do I have that? I have the Whirlpool. You've got the Rosette, right?
Yes.
The Galaxy, the Horsehead, your setup. I only have six images. You said M42, huh?
That's right. It's kind of a purpley bluish tone.
Yeah, I don't see it. I've got Andromeda.
Okay, let's do Andromeda then.
Okay, I think I got Andromeda here for some. Yeah, I think it's this one here.
On Andromeda,
Let me try and increase that.
it really is the perfect size for my field of view with that William Optics Zenith Star 61 scope and the camera that I'm using. It just gets it right in the whole frame. And when I first saw this coming out in processing, I was dumbfounded how much detail my little beginner astrophotography setup could capture. You can see the dust lanes, you can see the satellite galaxies. So there's actually 3 galaxies in this image. I just love the detail of this image. It's a great beginner target because you can see it I can see it with the naked eye in my backyard, definitely with binoculars. But if I use a averted gaze at this target, I can see the fuzziness with my naked eye. So because of that, it makes it a fantastic star hopping target. Um, and it's really fun because it's a really good naked eye target if you can get to it with your light pollution. And if not, you'll certainly be able to see it with binoculars. And that's kind of what I do at the beginning of my targeting session is sometimes I'll just sit in a chair next to my scope with my binoculars and start studying the area I'm going to zoom in on with the telescope. And that's probably the thing I like most about taking astrophotography images is being out there, looking up at the sky, learning the sky, the patterns, trying to spot dim objects with my binoculars, because my binoculars are about the same aperture as my finder scope. So once I find the target with my binoculars, like this one, in a chair next to the telescope, I then stand up and switch to my finder scope and try to find the target. And once I've found it with my finder scope, then I lock everything down and start tracking with the star tracker and take a 1-minute image with my Canon DSLR. And if it looks like it's in the frame okay, I just let it continue processing for the rest of the night. And sometimes I'll come in and check on things every 2 hours to make sure the cables aren't getting tied up with the rotation of the scope, because that would mess things up, or just to be out in the beautiful night sky.
And then I did have a question. Can you talk a little bit about what it means to have your camera modified?
Yes, the camera as it comes before modification has an IR cut filter inside that greatly limits the amount of hydrogen alpha you can pick up on the camera sensor. It basically filters out some of the most important light particles that we enjoy looking at in astrophotography images. So you can send your camera to a company. There's many companies that do it. I sent mine to a company in New Jersey, Kolari. It's called Kolari Vision. And for just a few $100s, they'll take your camera apart very carefully with precision tools and remove the IR cut filter, allowing the beautiful hydrogen alpha to come through. And this is another image, the Rosette Nebula, that has a lot of that. And so it makes the images more red. And you can really see it on this one. And you can see the details in the cloud structure. So I think it's worth doing. I think it's worth waiting also. Like, first try astrophotography without modifying your DSLR camera, if that's the route you're going, just to have a good comparison. And then this will give you another option of seeing how it affects those same targets.
Okay, and I found M42.
Okay, good.
That would be a shame if we didn't show this one. So let me just check I think I sent it to myself.
And there it is, M42, the Orion Nebula. And this is another naked eye object that I can see unaided in my backyard. And with binoculars, it's just an amazing sight. So it really works well. This target for the setup I have, you can capture it with your naked eye, move to binoculars in a chair next to your scope, then move to the scope and manually slew it to the same location in space, which is on the sword of the hunter Orion. There's 3 bright, like, finder stars on the sword, and this one's near the middle of those stars. So that's how I star hop to it. And of course, why astrophotography is so meaningful to me is you can't get this type of detail with visual astronomy, looking through a telescope. And I did that for many years with a Dobsonian telescope, like you were mentioning. Not as big, but mine was a 10-inch Dobsonian.
That's still good size.
And Orion was one of my favorite targets because it does look beautiful visually, but nothing like this. With this, I believe this is another 7 or 8 hour exposure, 1 minute exposures for 7 or 8 hours using 800 ISO. And the thing I really like about this image is the little ball below the center bright spot. There's like a little secondary birth of a star with a purplish cloud around it. It's a small ball, like a globular birth moment of a star. And this is, of course, a star nursery where stars are born. And on the right of the bright center of the image, there are 2 arms of gas that come up off the edge of the Orion Nebula. And it's the new star formation area as well. And you can see that level of detail. And to be able to see, where stars are born and the actual processes in a nebula with an image like this is just amazing to me. And you can do it from your backyard in the East Bay of San Francisco Bay Area with a $2,000 setup.
You do enjoy the processing part of this hobby as well, it seems, right? I mean,
I do, because having that image come up on the screen for the first time like, did I capture anything after that 8 hours of work? And I don't consider it work, but and then all of a sudden, wow, here comes Andromeda Galaxy in its beautiful glory, and I captured it. So it makes me feel like I accomplished something, and it's really very, very rewarding.
Okay. Well, uh, viewers, you might want to hit the notification bell because this will not be the last time you see David. So you might want to follow along with his story. And again, if you'd like to participate, share your story with the my community of viewers, please reach out to me. I'll put a email address in the video description that you can use to contact me, or leave a comment in this video that you'd like to participate, and then I'll reach out to you and we'll set up a way to get the ball rolling. But this has been a very exciting experience for me. Thank you, David, for participating and sharing your story. You've helped me reach a goal that I've had a long time, and that is to show a different way of entering into the astrophotography realm. Now, of course, you have the years of experience as being an astronomer, but that's not necessarily required. The key thing here is there is gear that's budget friendly that you could purchase to start generating some really cool images, just as David has done here as well. So thank you, David.
Pleasure.
All right. Let's keep the dialogue going offline, and let me know how I can help, because I want to say thank you for being part of episode 1 of Meet the Astrophotographer. All right, everyone. Clear skies wherever you may be. Other than that, like, share, and subscribe. See you next time. Thank you, David.